Hey guys, so today I'm going to be looking at people who felt their gut feelings. Yeah, let's just get right into the video. Manager of a group home. I woke up one day at 3:33 a.m. in a cold sweat. Like something screamed at me to wake up. I felt uneasy and walked the house. Turns out a kid had woken up and gone to eat something out of the fridge, was on the ground choking. Staff was asleep. Literally Heimlich the dude back to life. If I had been asleep 5 more minutes, he would have died. To today, I don't know what woke me up dead of the night like that. I am in a room on the other side of the house, so no sound would have woken me up. Yo, I guess a freaking spirit woke him up. I don't know, someone who died in that home before. I want to believe it like that, honestly, because you hear about stories where they have like paranormal things happening, but it's a good thing sometimes. Like, have you guys heard of that story where it was like the house was on fire and then the family was asleep and all of a sudden they just hear drawers slamming against each other, like opening and closing really loudly, and that's what woke them up, and then they all got to safety? Man, I want to believe in those things, honestly. Like, there's good ghosts, okay? Why do everyone just assume that every single ghost is bad, huh? Last year, I was admitted to the hospital for abdominal pain. Everything seemed okay. They found gallstones and scheduled me for a routine up the next day. I was okay on a lot of painkillers. No big deal, get it out and go on with life. I've had surgery under anesthesia before and never thought about making arrangements, but I had a weird, compelling feeling this time that I should get my affairs in order. I drafted a farewell email to my wife and kids so they'd find it in drafts. Wrote down my laptop and password manager passwords on a post-it in my wallet so they'd find those too. Packed everything neatly away and waited. Lay down on a table, looked the surgeon in the eye and said, I want to wake up. I woke up intubated in ICU. Immediately after being anesthetized, I had responded with a massive allergic reaction and coded. In addition, the gallbladder was half dead and gangrenous, and my surgeon said this was his top 3 most challenging surgeries of his long career. Guess I'm on my 3rd life. Yo, this guy's a cat. Honestly, having too many lives. Good though, good. Wow, he had that feeling that he was gonna die. Like, that's why he wrote everything to his family, right? Like giving them, you know, all his accounts and everything just in case something happens. Oh, that's scary. The fact that he felt that, but he still had to get surgery even though he felt like he was gonna die if he got the surgery, kind of thing. I live in Southern California and used to road bike pretty frequently, usually in the late afternoon or evening after school during the week. I got a late start one day, and as I get onto the riverbed trail, the sunset is about 20 to 30 minutes away. I have lights on my bike, so riding at night isn't an issue usually. I get to the beach at the end of the trail, which is my turning point, when I have this sense of dread and deja vu. I'm heading back and the sun has set completely and we're well into the blue hour, close to complete night. I've done this same ride literally hundreds of times. I know the route and how long each section takes me, like the layout of my home. There are usually 3 different routes I take back, and I decided to go the short route back, since it was later than usual and I had a weird feeling. And as I come to a short crosswalk, I see a group of 3 teenagers. I was about 22 at the time, and they're walking down the trail in the opposite direction I'm traveling. I notice one of them is giving another a piggyback ride. Not weird for teenagers to do, I suppose. But as I pass, I realize it's a girl who has blood all over her face. I immediately skid to a stop and turn around. They realize and start to run away and drop her. I call the police and talk to her. She was in a pretty rough shape. They had beaten her up really bad and were taking her to who knows where. The trail had been really empty that day. Had I decided to take a different route or not been late to get out, no clue what could have happened to her. Oh my gosh. Thank gosh though. I'm so glad they decided to take this route and literally just take a look at what's going on and assess the situation, and that's how they realized it was actually a girl with a bloody face. Oh, and it was at night as well, right? Jeez, the fact that they still did this at night just says they're a pretty good person. When I was little, I always used to sleep over at my cousin's house, who had an awesome wooden bunk bed that I would sleep on the bottom bunk. When I was 7, I went over for another sleepover. We ate Chinese food with my aunt and uncle. Then me and my cousin stayed up late playing video games before going to bed. When I was little, I used to fall asleep right away and sleep deeply. My family still jokes that not even a car going through the house could wake me up. Anyway, sometimes after I've fallen asleep, I wake up because I have this ridiculous feeling that I have to roll over. I didn't want to because I was comfortable and sleeping how I normally do in the middle of the bed with my foot hanging off. I kept arguing with what felt like myself over rolling over until I finally did. But apparently it wasn't enough because then I had the urge to literally cuddle as tight as I can against the wall since I had already rolled over. I figured, why not? As I'm trying to press myself as hard as possible against the wall, the bunk bed collapses and a broken metal goes straight through the bed where I had been sleeping. I was stuck, somehow unharmed, in that little space against the wall until my uncle could cut me out. My cousin had fallen from the top bunk when it collapsed, but was also unharmed. Unharmed, guys. I said unharmed. What is wrong with me? My cousin had fallen from the top bunk when it collapsed, but was also unharmed. Yo, this could be Spider-Man, man. He has like these spidey senses. What in the world is that? Seriously, he just has a feeling, I need to roll over now. But I don't know why, but I just need to roll over and just, stick myself to the wall. And then the bed collapses and then a metal just goes zoop like this. And, it could have went into his body. But he's Spider-Man, so obviously he knows. He knows that he ain't gonna die today. That is pretty awesome though, having a feeling like that and then you realizing that your feeling was actually correct. Oof. I was 16 in the summer. I grew up in a super small town and used to walk or bike everywhere with my dog, and I was usually alone. I had the day off from work, so I took a book and walked with my Labrador 4 miles to one of my favorite lakes and laid down at the beach to read a book and tan while my dog played in the water. After a few hours of being there, I noticed a rowdy group of guys, one who looked a bit familiar. It was a weekday, so there was only me, my dog, and a fisherman at the landing with these guys. I tried to ignore them, but noticed they kept looking over at me and whispering to each other. Then my dog, who usually will stay in the water the full time I'm there, came over and laid in between me and this group. I got a bad feeling from them and decided to cut my day short and go home. I grabbed my stuff and started to walk out of there like nothing happened, and this group starts to follow me. Not only do I have a bad feeling, but I can tell my dog is freaked out because she keeps looking behind me and growling. Yes, go doggo. Yes, papa. Yo, this papa knows what's up, honestly. Dogs know what's up. If they're ever feeling someone is a bad person, that person is probably a bad person. Unless the dog is just not trained well. Then, yeah. There's that as well. This group is getting louder behind me and somehow keeping up with me, which is a feat because I'm a fast walker, so I know they're doing this on purpose. I'm trying to think of a way out of this situation, knowing in the middle of the week I won't get much help from neighbors and no one's really around. So then I start to think on the one kid that looked familiar and it suddenly hits me. I know him. So I suddenly spin around and address him by name and tell him I used to change his diapers, which causes his friends to burst out laughing. I allow them close enough to walk with me to try and take control of the situation and ask him about his family and brother. They ask me what I'm doing that day and I still feel super creeped out. My dog still won't come near us, so I lie and say my brother is just up the road and I'm going to meet him. And I throw in that I'll hang back and let them walk ahead because my dog is clearly uncomfortable. I lie again and tell them she was abused by a man and hates men. They say they are going back to the beach and turn around and leave. 1 year later, I hear about a gruesome murder the next town over. This kid and his friends broke into a 75-year-old grandpa's house, robbed him, and brutally beat him to death. The kid I knew was only 14. The friends he was with ranged from 16 to 23. I don't know if they were planning on doing anything to me that day, but I will always trust my gut and have since. Good. That is a pretty obvious gut feeling though, when you're walking and then a group of people follow you and you feel very uncomfortable around them and they just keep following you. Yeah, that's not a good feeling. And plus your dog doesn't feel comfortable either. Yep. Listen to your papa. The fact that these kids are so young and they can do something like this, man, especially that young kid, he was literally following like the wrong crowd for sure. Just because you're a young teen does not mean you don't understand what murder is. You obviously know. So they all deserve to be thrown in prison. Female here, driving home at 2 a.m. after partying at my favorite Atlanta hangout bar. Noticed a car following me. Pulled into my apartment complex. They pulled behind me. I passed my apartment and just drove around a bit. They pulled off and parked, so I was all good. Looped around and parked in my spot. Unbeknownst to me, they had pulled up behind me, lights off, and 2 guys were standing behind my car when I got out. One guy says, "Hey, don't I know you?" My knees almost collapsed when I saw them, but I swear my lizard brain kicked in, and I knew I would die that night if I acted afraid. It took every ounce of energy in my body to turn around. I looked them both in the eye and say, "You picked the wrong person to F with." Turn my back to them and walk away. I was shaking so bad I could barely walk, but somehow got in my apartment and called 911. The first question the police asked was what I was wearing. I started screaming at them, asking why they wanted to know what I was wearing. Their response, "If you go missing before we get there, it will help identify your body." That was 35 years ago and it still haunts me. I never went out partying alone after that night. That's so sad, man. We just want to have some fun alone time, and this always happens, honestly. No, but seriously, come on. Really? That's the first question, what you're wearing? Are they literally preparing for her death then? I don't even know, man. Like, come on. Well, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me in the comments down below what your thoughts are. And as always, thanks for watching. Hope you guys liked it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.